My name's Adele Onyango and welcome to another episode of Legally Clueless. No, seriously, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Hi, welcome to episode 172 of Legally Clueless. Wow, it's still so wild to me that we have over 150 episodes. We've come such a long way. Thank you so much for being part of the family, and I invite you to officially become part of the family on legallycluelessafrica.com. So if you log onto that website, you can officially join our LCA community, and you need to do it really quick because I'm working on sending something very personalized to the first couple of people who joined the community. Shout out to everybody who's done so already. You will be receiving something special from me very soon. So if you haven't joined the community, log on to legallycluelessafrica.com and do so now. Another thing you need to do, especially if you're into digital media content creation, is sign up for our first workshop, which is going to be a digital content workshop. I worked on this curriculum for a little over a year. I built it, I tested it out with small groups in universities, small groups of people who run small businesses. And this workshop that we're going to be doing on the 13th of July is going to take you through building sustainable content. So even just like podcasts, how many podcasts have you started loving from episode 1 and they just disappear from episode 5-7? Many factors contribute to that, one of that being sustainable content. So we're going to address that in the workshop. We're also going to address marketing your content, building a community, and the most important thing, which is revenue streams and building a business model around your podcast, around your digital media, the digital content that you're creating. So the nerd in me is really looking forward to this workshop. So if you head over to legallycluelessafrica.com and you click on the workshops tab, you'll get more information and you can buy your tickets there. We have very limited slots, by the way, and quite a few tickets have already gone. Shout out to everybody who's bought already. And so if I was you, I'd get my ticket right now. Okay, back to this episode. I don't know why I'm singing. This is part 1 of a 2-part story, and it's a story by Gracia, who is a legally clueless listener. She wrote in, wanted to share her story. So part 1 is coming up a little later in this episode. Listen to this.
When I was joining standard 7 or something, it's when he came and told me, do you know I have sickle cell? I was like, what? You can't be having sickle cell. Kids with sickle cell don't live this long. Their voice on the other end was not him. Griffins is very sick. You need to come and pick him, because he had lost his memory. He couldn't remember my mom. He couldn't remember my dad. He could only remember me. My brother is he is a bubbly guy. Everyone knew that he'll not survive. When they asked my parents to go and prepare for his burial. So 2018 was okay for him. 2019 was okay for him. Then in 2020, I think he fell ill. Early 2020, mid-Jan, he fell ill, but he hid from everyone. On Monday morning, I called him again. Have you left Nairobi to Voi? Had no, I'm in the hospital sick. I am calling, no one is picking. A female voice answers. I'm like, hi, I want to talk to Griffins. She's like, Griffins is admitted. He was sad when I reached there. And I was like, and why are you not happy? And she imagined these people are saying I am HIV positive.
So we're going to be getting to Gracia's story a little later in the episode, but first, the song of the week. This is such a throwback. But I just remembered how much I love this woman. And even when I was a kid, I was just always drawn to her music. I thought her voice was very different in such a refreshing way. And she just seemed like a cool chick. And I just randomly remembered this song last week. And I was like, oh my God, note to self, you have to share this in the next episode of Legally Clueless. So the song is Feel So High by Desiree. It's so sweet and cute and just yummy. And I hope it puts a smile on your face. There's a link to it in the show notes. Away from the song of the week, how are you doing? I really do hope you're doing well. I was reading an article on us being in the middle of the year and mid-year burnout being an actual thing. So I hope, one, that you're not facing it, but in the event that you are, that you're finding little pockets to kind of just breathe and rest and taking it seriously, because burnout is real. You can start having actual physical symptoms. So do not take it lightly. Do not normalize it. Speaking of pockets of rest, this past week I managed to rest, like really rest. So randomly 2 weeks ago, I decided, and it's something so random for me because I feel like I hardly ever gift myself trips. Most of my travel is work, other than going on like the solo retreats that I was meant to be doing more of. And then life happened. And even those solo retreats, I'd go for maybe I'm filming somebody's Airbnb or somebody's hotel, at least the recent few ones I've been doing. So it's really still work, or I'm like, I'm going to try and write and finish this concept. So it ends up not being a rest thing. But randomly 2 weeks ago, I booked myself a holiday. I was just like, I missed the beach. And yeah, that's going to happen. So a friend of mine found this Airbnb in the coast that is a lighthouse. It is so beautiful. Your view, like it's literally on the beach. Your view is just the waves crashing into each other. It has this plunge pool where you just like gaze at the waves. Actually, on one of the days, I sat there in one position for 2 hours and I didn't even realize it. The beach is like a 3-minute walk away. Like if you want to go down to the beach, it's so silent and so breathtaking. You know what I love about huge bodies of water I've found is that it just reminds you how beautifully insignificant you are, and in the most nicest way. I mean that in the nicest way, because sometimes when you're going through things, you really, even good or bad things actually, you think that thing is the beginning and the end of everything in the entire world. You know what I mean? It just seems so big. And I don't know about you, but whenever I go to the beach, when I'm on a large, huge body of water, I'm just reminded of how small and insignificant we are in the best of ways, that we are this tiny piece of this huge, beautiful art piece of magic, you know? And instead of getting lost in what's happening in that tiny speck, like soak up all the magic. Does this make sense? But anyway, that's the feeling I get whenever I'm by the beach. Like this past week, I did some work on the first day. Actually did quite a bit of work on the first day. And then the other days, I wasn't even like picking phone calls or anything. I literally just rested. And I think I needed that. I feel calmer and my skin is glowing. So that was really great. And I'm also looking forward to this coming week. I'm going to be traveling again, and this time for work. I'm going to Sierra Leone for a conference. Hopefully in the next episode, I'll tell you more about it, but I'm really looking forward to that. I extended my trip by about 2 or 3 days, just in case I can record some African stories there. So fingers crossed that actually happens and that I travel safely. Yeah, so literally my message today is not like super deep. Hey, other days I'm telling you about boundaries, about life. I'm just like, yeah, the beach. Let's jump into 100 African stories. So as I said, Gracia actually filled in our storyteller form. There's a link to it in the show notes. And she wrote in, she wanted to share her story. So we set up a day to record it. We recorded this story in person, which is awesome. It was really great meeting her. She has a very calming and strong energy. I remember really just soaking it all in during the recording and just feeling so connected with her story. So her story is going to touch on sickle cell and also grief, the latter being a very triggering topic. So in case you're not in a space to handle that, you may want to hit pause and come back to this episode on a day that you can handle talking about grief. But that really is what she talks about. And as I said earlier, the story is in 2 parts. So part 2 is going to be next week's episode. But here's part 1. 100 African stories on Legally Clueless. Stories from Africa.
My name is Grusha Amunga. I come from Kenya, western part of the country. I was born and raised actually there in Bungoma. I was born in Kakamega, but I was raised in Bungoma. I'm the second born in a family of 5. My brother is my follower, so we grew up like, and we have a very, very little age gap between me and my brother. From our early interaction, we were very close, but I can't remember when exactly that time was, because I was very young, but that is the only thing I remember when I was growing up with him. There was a time he had started walking, but he stopped walking. He was so much in pain and he was just crying and he couldn't walk. I didn't understand because I was so young, but later on, we knew, like growing up, we knew that he needed extra care. He needed to be loved more than anyone else. Like, for instance, when my mom could bring 5 oranges, we knew 4 oranges are for my brother and 1 oranges we will share among the three of us. It was pretty okay. We understood that part, but we didn't understand why he needed to eat 4 oranges by himself and the rest of us not to eat, like not share equally. He will constantly, for him, before he slept, he will be given milk, a glass of milk before sleeping. And for us, it was okay. We knew milk is for him, for Griffins. So when I think it was when I was joining standard 7 or something, it's when he came and told me, "Do you know I have sickle cell?" I was like, "What? You can't be having sickle cell. Like, kids with sickle cell don't live this long, and you look healthy." And what do you mean that you have sickle cell? Like, you can't be having sickle cell. And even our parents, I think until when we were later on older, it's when they revealed to us that my brother had sickle cell. So for me, it was like, no, maybe my brother just overheard something, and it is not true that he had sickle cell. But when I was joining in Form 1, I think that is when my parents told us finally that, yeah, your brother needs this little extra care because he's a warrior or he's a sickle cell. He's suffering from sickle cell. So for us, it was, now we started understanding him more than how we used to treat him. In Standard 7, I just knew people die. I just knew that you can't survive, because that is what is taught in books. Like, you can't live to a certain age, because that was in 2000 and maybe 4 5 when I was finding out that he's a warrior. So I just knew that people don't live up to a certain age. People don't live up to 7 years. Then here he comes. He tells us that he's a warrior and all that. So it was kind of difficult for me to understand, because we grew up pretty close, but our bond was so strong that I think it didn't affect us so much, but it took upon me to really, really be there for him whenever he needed something, and understand him and know that if it is him asking, he really needs it. So when I joined high school, it's when I started sharing maybe with my friends, hey, you know what? Because in high school, I encountered one girl who was a warrior. She was really small. Warriors are really small in body. So she was really small, and people will gossip that, oh, she's a warrior. She can't live up to a certain age. And I was like, my brother is a warrior, my brother is a sickle cell. Because back then we didn't have warrior. We just came to know about a warrior like maybe later on in life. So back then, like, people will gossip the way she can't live, because she was in and out of school. That is the battle about the sickle cell disease. You can be admitted for 2 months, like, you are in bed in pain. When the crisis attack, it can go up to people, even the doctors sometimes lose hope on you, because they see, like, I know this time round you will not survive it. So when I was in high school, there was a girl who had the same disease, and people used to say that she'll not make it. But I used to encourage them. Even me, my brother is a sickle cell warrior. So if you say this one cannot make it, you are prescribing the same fate to my brother. Like, he can't make it up to a certain age or something. So I think then no one talked about sickle cell when I was around in high school. So it was like this huge elephant in the room that you cannot talk about it, because they only knew my brother will die at some point or something. The crises, I can't remember, because I think when I was in standard 6, my mother took me to a boarding school, so I didn't live with him all this time. But what I remember, the pain crises I remember vividly, is when he was in Form 4. I had cleared Form 4. So I received, like, he used to call me at night. Every time he calls, he wants money for airtime. And I had just cleared Form 4. So there was a certain night this number called, and I knew it is his number in school. Like, the number he was using, it was not the friends. The number he was using in school, I ignored it. I was like, no, me don't have like 20 bob to Sambazia, these guys. Why are they calling outside even? And it's 12 in the midnight. Then they persistently called me, like, I think it stops ringing, they call. It stops ringing, they call. So I received, Nkambia, hey, Grifo, Missinado. Their voice on the other end was not him. So it was like harsh voices. Griffins is very sick. You need to come and pick him. And it was around 2 a.m. So I went and knocked at my parents' house. Hey, Someone has called me from Griffin's school, I think one of the students, and he says Griffin's is very sick. Someone needs to pick him. So my parents were like at 4 a.m., around 5 a.m., they were in school. And they wouldn't say who had ratted my brother is sick because the teachers, no, Griffin's was fine like in the evening. Even we saw him in class and all that. But my dad insisted, my son is sick. I need to see him. So when they went to pick Griffin's, he was still in the dormitories. He couldn't walk. He couldn't walk at all. So my dad had to pick him up. First of all, my dad is a nurse, so he had to bring him home first because he used to administer medication for himself, like try managing it before taking him to the hospital. The situation got worse when he was still at home, so they had to take him to the hospital. He was admitted, and that is the time that they told my parents they need to go and prepare for his burial because this time round he's not coming out alive because he had lost his memory. He couldn't remember my mom. He couldn't remember my dad. He could only remember me. And anytime my parents will be near him, he will get agitated and say, "You are Mr. So and so who beats me up in school," or "You are Mrs. So and so who beats me up in school." And when he was joining high school, my parents were very clear. This one, you do not punish him. If he misbehaves, call me. Don't punish him because anything small, because the sickle cell crisis is triggered with cold, it's triggered with stress, it's triggered with caning kids. In our home, he was the only exception. He was never caned at all with anyone. So when he joined high school, those were the explanations or the instructions that they were given. Don't cane him. If he ever gets himself in a situation that needs discipline, call us. We know how we will deal with it. So when he was in these crises and in his own world, my parents were shocked. Like, he's actually getting caned in school and all that. And my brother is a bubbly. He was a bubbly. He is a bubbly guy. Whenever he will walk in any room, people will just love him. He didn't struggle to fit in places. He will fit in very high end places where no one in our family could fit. But for him, he will walk in and he'll be comfortable. He wouldn't struggle fitting in certain situations in life. And even in high school, I think after the students around him really loved him. Like, they would always look out on him. That's why whenever he got sick, they would secretly call home, "Hey, Griffiths is sick," and all that. So this time round, he couldn't walk and he was so frail, and everyone knew that he'll not survive. Everyone knew he will not survive, and they asked my parents to go and prepare for his burial. So my parents were broken, but those good doctors, good nurses who said, like, "We're going to do some risky things. It is not allowed, but we're going to pump water. It's more of your blood, it's blood clots, or in the veins, your blood clogs. The blood now cannot flow easily. So the pain now increases on that point." So this time around, I don't know where it had attacked. I think it was in his joints mostly, because it attacks the joints, the chest, and the head. It was the head and the joints. And those one are deadly. You'd rather get an attack on your joints and everything, but not on your head or your chest. So I think after he stayed in the hospital for a month, then he came home for 2 weeks. So you see, from 4, he didn't do like the first term. My mom was like, he cannot repeat. For him, coming to boarding school was his choice. We tried to fight for him not to join a boarding school, but he insisted he needed to join a boarding school. So even if he gets a D plus, me, I will be okay. I want him to go through the school system, like high school system, and out, because he was in a very rough boarding high school back there. It's equally known, like, you need to have muscles to survive in that school. So my mom wouldn't have any of it because they tried talking to her if they can let him to repeat. My mom was like, "No, whatever grade he gets, me, I will be fine." So that is how my brother went back to school and cleared his form 4th. He got a C, and my parents was like, "Yeah, you will do a diploma, then we will do a degree. Don't worry." In a university near us. So he studied in Western again. For him, he didn't have the choice of moving out of my parents' care and all that. Like, as we were late, like, you go, you're strong, you don't need like this close supervision, because he needs to be told, "Wear your sweater, take your medicines," because they live on medicines and their medications are not cheap. They're expensive. Like, you can get a dose going for a week that is like 200 shillings, and not so many people can afford the 200 bob weekly for the medication. So it was expensive. The diet is quite different from the rest. When my parents couldn't afford maybe nyama or kuku, we will do greens. For him, they will be having liver for him. That is how delicate a warrior needs to be treated. So I think after Form 4, he had these crises coming, going, coming, going. Then it reached a point where he spent almost 3 years without having end pain crises. And then he thought he was strong enough to move around the country or even the world. And he started moving like around. He will be in Nairobi. And the way they guided him not to come to Nairobi because of the weather, it can get a little bit chilly and it will affect him. So in 2018, because of his nature and his bubbly nature, he found himself working with a politician. And the politician really, really made him live his life well. Not in terms of financials or anything, but for him going places, meeting so many people, going from one district to another, from one county to another, like it was because of this politician, the wife to the politician, because they worked really close. I don't know why she loved him, but she just chose him to be working very closely with him. He will even come to Nairobi and not come to my house and go to the politician's house and stay there for a month or something. They treated him like a son. So 2018, he didn't have the pain crises and all that. And I think that is when he knew that he had to live his life, because he started doing so many things. There were so many organizations or youth organizations that he started in Bungoma that he would help. Sometimes he would fund them without money. Or just like, they need 10 people and it will need 2,000 for their transport from this point to this point. The little money he will have, he will pay for these people. Like, he was selfless. So 2018 was okay for him. 2019 was okay for him. Then in 2020, I think he fell ill. Early 2020, mid-Jan, he fell ill, but he hid from everyone that he is sick. Even my dad, even my mom, he wouldn't come in the house when my parents are there, because he knew when they see him, they'll know he's sick. So he hid. And the reason why he hid it was because they're going to open a sickle cell clinic in Voi. And he really wanted to go, to be part of the team who are going to open the sickle cell clinic. So on the day he was coming to Nairobi, even the Makanga looked at him and they were like, you're not good. Because when you're in crisis, your eyes turn yellow. Completely no single spot of white. The Makangas, they were like, are you sure you're traveling to Nairobi like this? You can't be going like this to Nairobi. Like, you'd rather go home. They didn't even know he's a warrior, but they just told him, go home. He was like, no, I have to go. So they called my first that Sunday morning, because he traveled on Sunday. That Sunday morning, he had updated his status. The devil can't win. This sickness need to go away. My first reaction was to call Griffins. Are you sick? No, I'm not sick. Where are you? I'm in the church. My brother knew about his condition so well that even if he had a flu, he wouldn't go to the church. So when he told me he's in the church, I knew, maybe he's not sick, because he wouldn't leave the home when he's sick. So I was like, maybe he's not sick. So I was like, and what's that on your status? He went ahead and deleted the status. Then this Makanga tells him he's so sick and all that. He needs to go home. What he does is call my dad. Hey, Dad. So this Makanga tells me, my eyes are very yellow. What do I need to buy? This is unusual of him. He knows his medication. He knows he can walk to the chemist and ask for this, this, and this. So it's like, what do I buy? My dad was like, you can come back home. We treat you. No, it is not something big. I'm not in pain. So they told him to have so many fluids. They need to have like water. He told him to grab water, his medication that he needs to have, then take it, then maybe grab a beetroot so that he can eat on his way to Nairobi and all that. So when he came, he was to come to my place. So when he reached Nairobi, I'm like, it is 8. And this guy told me he's traveling from 7 a.m. It's 8 p.m. He's not here. What is happening? So I call him. Hi, bro. Are you coming? Are you still coming? No. The first lady has asked me to sleep at her house. So I was like, oh, okay. So why do you need to sleep at her house and you are to come to my place? He But like for logistic purposes, we will be picked from her house so that we can be taken to Voi. So like that is fine. So in the morning, on Monday morning, I call him again. Have you left Nairobi to Voi? Hati, no, I'm in the hospital sick. I'm like, why are you in the hospital? Like, which hospital? Nairobi West. I was like, so will you be admitted there so that I can, from the time I leave work, I'll come see you? Ati, no, I have to go to Voi. So I told him, Griffins, you can't travel when you're sick. You see, if you're in the hospital, you know you are sick. If you are not in the hospital, it will be a different story. But since you're in the hospital right now, you can't go. He was like, no, mommy, he used to call me, no, Grisha, don't worry. I'll be okay. I'll travel. You don't worry. I have a team of doctors with us. I'll be fine. I'll reach Voi well. And when I reach Voi, the clinic that we're going to open, I'll be admitted there. We started quarreling, and he knows. He used to say I over exaggerate situation when it comes to him, because I always like, it is bad. His eyes are very yellow. His skin is pale. So he knew that if I went to see him, then I wouldn't allow him to travel. And even if he would have slept in my house, I wouldn't have allowed him to travel. So he was like, I'll be gone. So like we didn't even communicate thereafter, because he was being stubborn and was like, why don't you agree to be admitted and all that. I didn't call. I just ended the call, and I never checked on him like at all. The whole day I was like, me, I'm angry. This guy needs his situation. This guy knows that his situation is very serious, and he's really like he's really making it hard for us to even help him. Why can't he just listen and not travel? Like why can't he just stay? Like there are always so many clinics that they'll be opened. He can be on the next one. He doesn't have to be on this one. So like I was angry and I was like, me, I'm not calling. I went through the day, finished Jobo, went back home. But around 5 p.m. I was like, hi, my brother was supposed to travel and he is sick. Let me confirm where they are right now. I am calling, no one is speaking. Now my heart is pumping, like, no, what has happened to him? I'm calling, no one is speaking. Then I call, a female voice answers. I'm like, hi, I want to talk to Griffins. And she's like, Griffins he's admitted at this hospital. I'll not mention the name of the hospital. At this hospital, on our way to Voi, the crises increased. The pain crisis increased. So we couldn't, I am with him. And since we were young, we were told like he needed care. So me, I was like, I called at my office and I was like, I will not be able to come tomorrow. My brother is very sick and I need to travel to where he is. So in the morning, I wake up at 5 a.m. I travel, go to this county, because it's in a foreign county. They've never, I wouldn't say they've never dealt with sickle cell or something. Maybe they have, but they didn't know how. Maybe the people he got them didn't understand the situation. So I'm like, I called my dad, hey, Griffins is admitted and he's so sick. I don't know what to do, but I'll be heading there in the morning. Can you come? So my father is like, yeah, I'll come. So we thought he'll travel in the evening. So we go. But my father, I don't know what happened. I don't know. Maybe we don't understand, because my father delayed. He didn't travel that night. In the morning, he didn't travel. He went to Shughulikia his farm first. And everyone is like, Griffins is sick. You need to have left the house at 4 a.m. not to be here doing these things. We can do these things. And so I left Nairobi in the morning on Tuesday morning, went to the hospital, and I found him still at the emergency and accidents center. And I was like, you see, like that was the first reaction to him. You see the reason why this hospital asked you to be admitted? Because the hospital didn't even give him medication. They said if he's going like this, as we're not giving him medication, we can't be liable for what will happen to him on his way. So they didn't. So we told him, I asked him, you see why it was important for you to be admitted, and you are just acting stubborn here. And he was like, those doctors didn't understand that I needed to travel. And we're like, so what medication have you been given? I have just been given blood, and just blood, no water. And he was sad when I reached there. And I was like, and why are you not happy? And she imagine these people are saying I am HIV positive. So yeah, I was so mad. But you don't know who to address and tell them, no, he's not positive. He's a warrior, and warriors are usually this tiny. And I I think it's my assumption. Maybe if they would have treated him with so much care and all that, maybe if they understood that he's in crisis, they wouldn't have left him at the emergency and accidents for that long. The whole of Monday, Tuesday evening when I came around midday, no, then it's when he calls me, they're transferring me to the ward. So I'm like, let me come and help you to the ward. So I was pushing the trolley he was on because he couldn't walk. We reached the hospital, the wards, they tell us they can't give him a bed if he has not taken a chest x-ray. It is protocol. Like they can't give him a bed. We are like, but us, we've been told to come here. No one has asked us to go and do chest x-ray. Then there's one doctor who came and looked at my brother and looked at his vitals, report and all that. And he was like, give him a bed right now. Give him a bed, prepare oxygen immediately. They were like, Daktari, we can't do this. We can't do this. Say it on record that you are the one. The doctor said, like, give him a bed and ask whoever will ask you. Dr. So-and-so asked us to give him a bed without the chest x-ray. And we were so happy. Like, finally, my brother was going to receive the kind of treatment he needed. Maybe someone who understands this kind of diseases, because almost everyone here doesn't understand how critical it is. So they gave him a bed and we were there. And I think it reached around 7 p.m. and they asked us to go out. Like, we can't sleep there with him. And for us, it is like a tradition. When my brother is sick, it's either my mom who sleeps with him in the hospital or my dad. Now that they're not here, I'm the one who is supposed to sleep here with him. So I ask them, please allow me to sleep with my brother tonight. Just tonight. Because he's so ill, he doesn't know anyone here. He needs to be supported. Because I remember when we finished giving, because he couldn't even feed himself. We were feeding him together with the lady colleague that they were with. We were feeding him food. And like, I was feeding him the rice and the lady colleague was giving him the yogurt. And at some point he wanted to go use the washrooms and he couldn't walk. I had to support him, take him to the washrooms. And I was like, you see, this kind of care you will not manage with all these patients here. You are a public hospital and you cannot manage. Let me help you with him tonight, because I know he needed that care at night, during the night. Because just as the usual things, like night comes with so many things. So we begged and they asked us, if you guys are going to stay here, we are not going to administer drugs to him. So you choose. You either stay with him and no drugs, or you go away and have him being given drugs. So we had to leave. So I had to call my dad. Like, even if you're coming, you'll not be allowed in the hospital. Don't come straight here, sleep in Nairobi, then wake up very early in the morning, then come. So I called my mother and told him, I've asked Dad not to come because they're not allowing anyone to sleep with Griffins. Even me, I've been made to go out and not sleep there with him. So my mom was like, no, you'll just have let your dad to come. It's already 7 p.m. My dad is not even here. He's not even in Nairobi. How will he even reach here? So I told him, like, let just Dad rest. He will wake up early in the morning and go. So after my phone call with my dad, his phone was stolen. Like, my mom calls me, you know what? Your dad's phone is... someone has stolen your dad's phone and the money that he had on him. So he doesn't have anything. And he has to sleep in a room in Nairobi. He doesn't, like... Of course, he doesn't live here. He doesn't know so many places where he can, like, maneuver and go sleep. But he's a man. He finds it, like, my mom sends him some money from a foreign, like, from the lady who helped her call, sends him some money, finds a way he can sleep during the night. Then in the morning, he will wake up to come. So me, I'm here. My mom has already told me that my dad doesn't have a phone on him. So I'll just have to wait. And, like, I'll wait for him at the gate when he arrives so that I can show him where my brother's bed.
Catch more African stories in the next episode of Legally Clueless. That's part 1 of Grasha's story. Man, our healthcare. Our healthcare systems. My goodness. They just stay failing us, you know? It really is preposterous. The threats to family members. I mean, nobody wants to be in a hospital. If you're there, it's because you literally have no choice. Whether you're the patient or you're there to take a loved one in, etc., etc. It's not a fun experience. It's quite stressful, you know? And I get it. I get, that healthcare practitioners, so nurses and doctors, especially in like public hospitals and public healthcare facilities, are going through it, really going through it when it comes to how they're treated by the government, the amenities, are they given what they need to be able to do their job well, pay, being overworked, like the list is endless. I get it. But I just feel like two wrongs don't make it right, and the patient, their family, and you are on the same side. So just listening to what her brother had to experience, and how do you get stigmatized? How do you get stigmatized at a hospital? I don't know. I feel like that should be the last place you get stigmatized. That should be the last place that people, because of your body size, round you off to a disease. I mean, I just feel like at a hospital, there's enough science for that not to happen. There's enough knowledge, or should be enough knowledge for that not to happen. Out here, perhaps it's not to say that stigma outside is better, but like you can almost excuse it with ignorance, So hearing what her brother had to go through at that particular hospital is just something else. So we're going to listen to part 2 of her story in next week's episode. That's episode 173. So hang on tight for that one. It is on the way. Of course, if you want to share your story on this podcast, wherever you are, you have an African story. It's valid. We want to hear it. So we can record your story virtually or in person if you're in Kenya. We have actually flown out to other counties to record stories for a day. We fly out in the morning and come back in the evening. So I'm just like, wow, we're so professional. But if you want to share your story, just fill out the storyteller form. The link is in the show notes. And speaking of filling out things, join the Legally... What was that? Join the Legally Clueless Africa community. Just go to legallycluelessafrica.com and sign up, because I have such amazing treats lined up for us and a lot of in-person events and retreats that are going to be awesome. Like our first workshop on the 13th of July. So if you're into digital content, if you want to start your own show online, you want to start your own podcast, this is definitely a workshop you need to attend. So on legallycluelessafrica.com, just click on the workshops tab for more details. And we have sold about 30% of the slots already. So you need to buy your tickets ASAP. We have very limited spaces because we're trying to make the workshops intimate so that you actually get value, All right. It's time for me to end this episode, also because we have a new nighttime askari and I am so happy. The last nighttime askari or guard was so mean to me and so rude. Oh my god. I don't know what I ever did to that guy. I really don't. He even told me how I have a bad attitude. And then when I was like, can you quantify when did this happen? So that, hey, maybe I'm doing something to you without knowing. Tell me when you experienced this said bad attitude so I can address it and change. And he couldn't. He was just talking out his ass. Man, hey, that guy. And he would fight if any delivery guys came to the house. He fought with each and every person on a Boda Boda stroke motorbike who came to deliver anything to this block. I really don't understand what was happening. So anyway, it seems like I came back from my trip and he was no more. There's a new guy. But this new guy is booming some political rally he's watching on his phone. So I'm just hearing, Asimio, Asimio. And for context, it's midnight. Okay, granted, with only 2 who are doing night shifts right now, but dudes, what is not happening? Anyway, I'll take this. I'll take this over the last Askari. That's the update on my God drama here. And with that, I'ma end this episode. That's it for this episode of Legally Clueless. You can share this podcast with your friends. You can keep it for yourself. I'm not judging. Just make sure you're here next week for the next episode.